First at noon, 20 people are recovering from injuries after a crash on the H1 freeway between a city bus and a pickup truck. Now, police are investigating what led up to the collision that shut down several eastbound lanes by the airport during the morning commute. Casey Lund takes us to the scene.
Aloha from just outside Mauka of the Honolulu airport. We were here just as this traffic cleared up. As a matter of fact, what you're looking at right now is the H1 with all lanes back open. That was certainly not the case earlier this morning. Let's take you back to just a moment ago when we saw that bus being towed away by a large wrecking truck. We also know HPD kind of escorted it out of there. We imagine that there's a lengthy investigation still kind of happening because so many people were involved with this, 17 people injured. We're trying to confirm exactly what kind of injuries those folks sustained, how serious it was, but we know the backup was well beyond the airport here on the H1. A really difficult day for a lot of the motorists, but we're trying to also learn exactly what happened. There were some other vehicles involved in this crash that happened, again, just beyond the exit ramp for the airport as you head toward the Waikiki exit into town from the airport. So, again, a lot to still learn today as we figure out what happened to that bus, how much damage it sustained. When we first got here, too, it looked like it was well up against the guardrail. And as a matter of fact, if we can, maybe let's point the camera down here because right here there does seem to be some of the possible debris from that accident or maybe an earlier accident, but that's certainly something to look at. So in that shoulder lane, that's where the bus eventually came to a stop there. So we're still trying to determine exactly how things unfolded here this morning. But the great news is, as you can see, H1, all lanes back open eastbound. So hopefully that alleviated the morning commute, the backup that was caused by all this. And again, we're thinking about those folks that were injured. We'll follow up and bring you the latest online and at hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll send things back into the studio for now.
Thank you, Case. Hawaii County Police Chief Ben Moszkowicz has written a letter to his colleagues saying he's leaving to take over as Honolulu's interim police chief, but it's not a done deal. In the internal memo obtained by Hawaii News Now, Moszkowicz said Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi asked him to fill the role last week after HPD Chief Joe Logan decided to retire unexpectedly. The former HPD major said he'll begin the new job on July 16th. The mayor also said that on Monday before clarifying that he is only recommending Moszkowicz for the position. The Honolulu Police Commission is actually in charge of appointing the new chief and is asking for candidates to apply with no timeline on its selection. Meanwhile, critics are now saying Mayor Blangiardi exceeded his power, violated the city charter, and harmed the process of picking a new chief.
Not only demeaned the commission, but it demeaned Moszkowicz in a sense. You know, you're the chosen one, you're going to be the mayor's boy, that sort of thing.
He did an end run around the police commission, essentially fired Joe Logan on the spot without an exit strategy, decided to insert his own candidate, and then waited to see what the police commission would do.
No, I don't think I'm stepping on their toes because I've been very candid. I've met with the commission. I talked to them. I let them know my plans. They were well aware of this for some time now.
The mayor's office emphasized his right to make suggestions and said he only met with the commission chairman, not multiple members of the commission. The Maui County Council has passed a $1.5 billion budget for the upcoming fiscal year, and housing is a top priority. It sets aside more than $17 million for more than 350 affordable homes on Lanai, the first such project on the island in more than 3 decades. Now, if the mayor signs off, the county would fund these projects by raising property taxes on the visitor industry, out-of-state residents, and the county's wealthiest residents.
I live on Lanai. Many billionaires come and visit. It's owned by Ellison, one of the richest people in the world. So I feel that our community's needs need to be met, and I'm certainly thinking that they can kick in.
I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of this council, and everybody worked super hard. I'm grateful to the administration because it was a lot of hours for us, but it was a lot of hours for them.
Mayor Richard Bisson is expected to sign the budget that would go into effect next month. An Oahu community is putting out the word to protect a hillside dotted with ancient farming sites. Derek Kravitsky reports on a company's proposal to build a gondola and zip line on the North Shore.
Raise your hand if you support this project.
A show of solidarity in Waialua.
Do we support this type of activity on agricultural land on the North Shore? Do you guys want this project?
Critics and curious residents packed a school cafeteria as leaders rallied against a cable car proposal called Kamana Nui, aiming to attract 1,700 daily visitors on the slopes of Mount Ka'ala above Mokuleia. The city signed off on a 2019 permit application by Kaukonahua Ranch, but required at least half of the project's 2,300 acres be used for agricultural purposes.
This has nothing to do with farming and agriculture.
Neighborhood Board Chair Kathleen Pahinui says a few years ago, the developer gave her and others a tour of the proposed site.
It was horrifying. This is completely about, as the gentleman said, a theme park. We came away from that going, oh no, this is a bad project. This is a really bad project.
Now, the ranch wants to modify its plans to build one instead of 2 zip lines, requiring 11 support structures instead of 22. But it also wants to increase cattle grazing by nearly 500 acres and scratch plans for agroforestry on more than 300. And instead of planting koa trees on 600 acres, it wants to stop at 51. All this in an area with more than 30 archaeological sites.
There should be nothing up there, much less project.
Leaders also accused the company of trying to avoid public scrutiny.
They're not showing up, they're not answering questions, and they're not providing more information.
The ranch told us in a statement that scheduling conflicts prevented them from attending Tuesday night's meeting, but they are planning more public engagement. General Manager Mark Skip Taylor also said, "We are committed to being good community stewards, focused on cattle ranching, crops, and native reforestation." The Department of Planning and Permitting is now reviewing the proposed changes.
The Department of Planning and Permitting really needs to pull the plug on this project and set it back. And if they're going to continue, it needs to be under a conditional use permit major with the environmental impact statement and the community engagement. Otherwise, DPP's got to just kill this project at this point.
Derek Kravitsky, Hawaii News Now.
We're keeping a close eye on Kilauea. The USGS says episode 24 of the current eruption could begin anytime soon. This is a live look right now. There has been intermittent lava spattering at the north vent, which means magma is close to the surface.
And of course, all eyes are on Kilauea for the potential 24th episode. We're taking a current look at air quality across the state. We really haven't been seeing lowered air quality out there throughout today or yesterday, really in the green across the entire island chain. But let's take a look at our exclusive VOG forecast. You're only going to find this on air here at Hawaii News Now. You can see the overall VOG plume moving off to the west and southwest of Hawaii Island as we're going forward. This is around Thursday at 6 a.m. Notice some of the VOG actually starting to creep up towards Maui County, maybe even impacting Oahu as we go into Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. The reasoning, we're going to be seeing lighter trade winds out there as we're going into Thursday and Friday. Just off to our northeast, actually, we've got a strong high pressure system. This is going to get a little bit weaker as we go into the next couple of days, giving us slightly weaker winds, but overall still easterly flow. I'll give you the breakdown of that and my full forecast coming up.
Thank you, Drew. President Trump has had a busy day trying to convince holdout Republican senators to support his budget bill. He also had a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin about Russia's war with Ukraine. Erica Brown has more details from the White House.
President Trump is meeting with some Senate Republicans Wednesday who still have questions about his massive spending package. Some Republican senators have criticized what the president calls his one big beautiful bill, calling for steeper spending cuts.
We've got to sharpen the pencil when we go to the White House today. Well, I'm sure we'll have a discussion about ways we have to do it. But the House had a good start, but we're not done yet.
The Congressional Budget Office released a new estimate projecting the bill would add $2.4 trillion to the deficit over the next 10 years. It also says cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act would result in nearly 11 million people losing health insurance over the next decade.
There's a cold, harsh reality that this bill is just tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid for by gutting health care for up to 16 million Americans.
The White House has pushed back on a previous warning from the CBO that the bill adds to the deficit.
This is an institution in our country that has become partisan and political, and we are very confident in our own economic analyses of this bill.
President Trump also spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin for more than an hour Wednesday as his administration pushes for a peace deal to end the war in Ukraine. Trump said he had a good conversation with Putin, but not one that would lead to immediate peace. He says Putin stressed that Russia will respond to Ukraine's latest drone attack on Russian airfields. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Federal authorities arrested a man who they say is linked to the bombing at a Palm Springs fertility clinic last month that killed the bomber and injured 4 others. They accuse the Seattle man of providing chemicals to make the explosives that the bomber used. Andres Gutierrez has the latest.
Federal authorities have arrested a man in connection with last month's car bombing outside a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California.
Today, my office and the FBI are announcing the arrest of Daniel Park, a Washington state resident charged in a federal criminal complaint.
Daniel Park is accused of providing and attempting to provide material support to Guy Edward Barkus. Authorities say Barkus was killed as he bombed the American Reproductive Center's clinic in May.
Mr. Park, who shares Barkus's extremist beliefs, is accused of shipping approximately 180 pounds of ammonium nitrate, an explosive precursor commonly used to construct homemade bombs, to Barkus.
Officials say Park paid for an additional 90 pounds of ammonium nitrate that was shipped to Barkus in the days leading up to the attack. Officials allege both spent about 2 weeks together in California early this year conducting experiments in Barkus's garage. The complaint against Park says the FBI recovered large quantities of chemicals and lab equipment in that garage after the bombing.
The bomb injured numerous victims, destroyed the clinic's building, and damaged surrounding buildings and areas, causing a debris field of approximately 250 yards in size.
The 32-year-old appeared in federal court in Brooklyn on Wednesday. Park was arrested Tuesday night at New York's JFK International Airport after returning to the U.S. from Poland, where law enforcement officials detained him. Andres Gutierrez, CBS News.
Head on, this is now the family of the young woman who was gunned down outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in D.C. is sharing their grief 2 weeks after the targeted attack. Plus, cuts at the U.S. Department of Education is creating confusion and uncertainty with federal student loan programs. We'll tell you what borrowers need to know in 2 minutes. It's been 2 weeks since a young couple was gunned down in a targeted attack outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. Jonah Kaplan spoke exclusively with one of the victims' grieving families.
She was a stronger person than I ever was.
What the parents of Sarah Milgram want everyone to know was how their daughter's life was filled with love, starting with her father Bob, her mother Nancy, and older brother Jacob.
She was the perfect child. We never argued about anything. She loved family. She loved her community.
It was a life full of love stories, too. First falling for Israel after her bat mitzvah in Jerusalem. Sarah would tour Israel again in college, and then again as part of a program called Tech to Peace, a work-study program for Israelis and Palestinians.
She's not a tech person.
Right.
So she learned some things, but really she was involved with the social immersion between bringing all the people together.
When Sarah got a job after grad school at the Israeli embassy, she'd fall in love again with Yaron Lashinsky.
We saw their love blossom for each other, and we knew how strong it was. So we were hoping that they would be getting married.
They were together on the night of May 21st, leaving a diplomatic event discussing how to get more aid into Gaza.
There are people now that are calling the man who allegedly shot and killed your daughter a political prisoner, a hero,
Free Palestine!
Someone who was working to be a liberator.
I don't know anything about those,
Yeah,
but Sarah wasn't against the Palestinians. She wasn't against the people in Gaza. She was, in all her heart, working towards finding a way for everyone to live together peacefully.
Milgram's parents and brother shared with us that, of course, they're in touch right now in their grief with Yaron Lashinsky's family in Israel, and they plan to visit there in the fall to meet the parents and to visit Yaron's grave. Jonah Kaplan, CBS News, New York.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon wraps up 2 days of Capitol Hill testimony where she was grilled by lawmakers about department cuts. Now, the recent federal student loan landscape has created confusion for current and future borrowers. Karen Kaifa has what you need to know.
The White House seeks to slash the Education Department's budget by 15%, and the future of some key federal student loan programs is on the line.
There are millions of people across this country who are just trying to stay on track of all of these changes.
Aisa Canchola-Banez, policy director for the Student Borrower Protection Center, says the nonprofit is receiving borrower questions ranging from where to seek help as the Education Department has slashed staff to what President Trump's massive domestic policy bill, as passed by the Republican-led House, could mean for them.
This bill will massively eliminate the number of repayment options that borrowers have at their disposal.
The legislation currently under discussion in the Senate and the Education Department's budget request propose, among other program cuts, limiting federal student loan repayment plans to just 2 options, capping borrowing even for professional programs like medical school, and slashing maximum Pell Grants typically used by low-income undergraduates by about $1,700. Meanwhile, the Trump administration restarted collection of federal student loans in default last month, impacting millions of already squeezed borrowers. Matt Schultz, chief consumer finance analyst for LendingTree, says that could dent the overall economy.
There's no question in my mind that there's going to be a ripple effect in families' budgets as a result of these student loan payments restarting, because most people's financial wiggle room was pretty tiny anyway.
At a time when the U.S. economic outlook is already uncertain. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
And stick around. Coming up after the break, I'll walk you through our first alert forecast. Breezy trades, a couple of showers. We're also tracking some activity out in the eastern Pacific.
First Alert weather with Drew Davis.
Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy hump day. You've made it through half of the week. Looking forward towards the weekend and Thursday and Friday. We've got breezy trade winds out there, a little bit weaker on Thursday and Friday, and a better chance for showers as we're going into the next couple of days. Let's break it all down. Of course, we're also tracking the tropics out there. Hurricane season officially started just a few days ago. June 1st was the start of hurricane season. We already had Tropical Storm Alvin, just that formed and fell apart really quickly. But we've got another area out there with about an 80% chance of development, a high chance for development over the next 7 days. However, over the next 48 hours, only about a 10% chance. You can see as we're going forward in time, around Sunday, 8 p.m., that could be Tropical Storm Barbara or even potentially Hurricane Barbara, but it falls apart in the cooler waters of the eastern Pacific. So nothing to worry about right now. We're still tracking the tropics around the clock because it is now officially hurricane season. The tropics are going to start heating up over the next couple of months. Our island by island forecast for Kauai, we've got scattered showers, mostly cloudy conditions out there. Better chance for showers over windward areas. 81 around Wahiawa, Waianae around 86 in town tomorrow. A little bit warm in spots. Maui County, isolated showers before noon, then partly sunny. 86 in Kahului, 85 in Kihei for Thursday. And moving over to the Kona side of Hawaii Island, 85 in Kona, 85 in Captain Cook, and also 85 in Waikoloa as well. A little bit hazy over the southwestern portions of the island. 83 in Hilo, scattered showers and partly sunny conditions. Breezier over the northern portions of the island, around 76 for a high in Waimea tomorrow. Just breaking down our first alert radar and satellite. Not much going on out there. We've got a few showers out there, a few sprinkles if anything. Also some upper level clouds moving in. You can see over on closer to Oahu, really nothing much, maybe a few sprinkles along the Kilauea. It's been relatively dry over the last hour or so. Really across the entire state, we'll see a better chance for showers as we're going into the overnight into early morning hours tomorrow. Of course, we've got that high pressure and the clockwise circulation of air around that high pressure off to our northeast, causing the trade winds. Overall easterly flow out there. Northeasterly winds in town around 18 miles per hour. Kahului around 26. Northerly winds around 10 miles per hour. In Hilo, of course, going forward throughout the next several days, you'll notice winds a little bit weaker as we're going into Thursday afternoon, but still a little bit breezy at times. As similar stories we're going into Friday between 10 to 15 miles per hour throughout the afternoon. Our first alert futurecast going forward. You can see as we go into Thursday and Friday, still a better chance for some showers. This is not going to be for everybody, and a better chance for cloud cover as we're ending off this work week. Our surf and shoreline forecast, north and west facing shores, relatively small out there. Choppy out on east facing shores and a couple of background swells in town, around 2 to 4 feet. Here's your 7-day forecast. Mahalo to Dwight for sending in that photo. Thursday and Friday, better chance for some showers. Saturday and Sunday, conditions will be improving and will continue to be warm going forward.
Thank you, Drew. Well, still to come, a shopkeeper in Thailand gets an unexpected customer. The video you need to see coming up in today's Good News Now.
right, welcome back, everybody. In a city plagued by infrastructure failures, whether it be power outages or sinkholes swallowing cars, New Orleanians know how to find humor and frustration. And one group of residents found a creative way to turn aggravation into fun by transforming a pothole that has been there for 5 months into a neighborhood zoo. Along with signage marking the spot of the Laurel Street Zoo, there's strict warnings not to feed the flamingos.
I'm sure the city loves that.
I'm sure they do. And when cravings hit, sometimes you just need to run to the store to satisfy it.
And that's exactly what a wild elephant did in Thailand, and it was all caught on camera. Check it out. The hungry elephant caused havoc at the grocery store when he strolled in from a nearby national park and just helped himself to food off the shelves. As he was chomping on snacks, he did not even flinch as the national park workers tried to shoo him away. The shop owner says the animal ate about 9 bags of sweet rice crackers, a sandwich, and some dried bananas. No one was hurt, and the elephant left just a little bit of damage and mud behind, but he eventually walked back to the habitat at his park.
I like how he returned to the park. You can't prosecute an elephant.
He was just hungry. Thanks for watching, everybody.